good to be here this morning. So I am with Huntress, come from about 20 years with Cisco prior to this, so been around technology a good chunk of my working life. I'm over with Huntress, but what I want to do this morning is give you a little bit of background on the company real quick. I'm going to go into some education about what's happening out there in the cybersecurity community, and then show you what Huntress can do. So a lot of education, some good knowledge, and then a little bit of Huntress commercial. So we'll minimize the commercial part of it. If you'd like to learn more, we'll have some follow-up after the event. So Huntress is cybersecurity for the 99%. The 1% of the folks that have those unlimited budgets, blank checks. Some of you may even be on the call. We can help, we can supplement, but for the most part, it's the folks that don't have those unlimited budgets, don't have the staff, the wherewithal to bring in the expertise with some pretty rare individuals to threat hunt. Been here about a year. The company's been around 6 years. 3 founders came out of the NSA, gives them the street cred to be able to fight and play offense against a lot of these bad actors. And we're complementary to just about every other security solution out there. I'll show you what that is. But before we get into that, let me do a little bit of a level set of what I want to hit in the next little bit here. What we're doing is we're hunting for something called persistent threats, and I'm going to drill down on that a little bit. That's not unique to Huntress. The attack vectors are now using these things called persistence mechanisms to open up back doors. So if you are aware of what's happening out there, and my guess is just about all of you are, and look at the major attacks of late, they're usually looking to break in one time, work hard to brute force into your environment, or whoever environment it is, and then stay there with what's called persistence or footholds that will open up a back door for these bad actors to come and go. And that's where most of the attacks are being originated these days, and we hunt in that environment. But I am going to build out a little bit on the persistence or back doors, which will help you to understand what's happening out there in today's threat landscape. Typically, they're bypassing or working around those prevention tools, a lot of the upfront tools that are locking that front door, whether it be next-gen antivirus, whether it be endpoint detection, EDR. They're typically working around those and opening up these back doors to come and go at will, which is a lot better business model for them to be able to break in and stay there for days, weeks, or months at a time. Pretty scary stuff. Our solution complements the existing stack. Again, I'm going to minimize the Huntress commercial piece of it. I will show you what we do. We can do a follow-up with you and do a deeper dive with you and your security team. Let me apologize also. I'm not sure if you're getting the banging next door. The beauties of working from home. They're working on the unit right next to me here in the building we're in, so you might get some banging. So my apologies for that. Apologies for that. And the Huntress piece of it, simple and affordable. But let me take you down that persistence path a little bit, show you what's happening. So John Hammond is one of our threat researchers. He's up to over 300,000 YouTube followers these days. Pretty well known in that cybersecurity community. Our team, again, 3 founders came out of the NSA. We've got a lot of folks that have been out there in that threat defense and playing offense world. And John estimates that over 90% of the attacks these days are using some form of persistence mechanism. What that basically means is every time that system is rebooted or restarted, there's mechanisms out there that are persistent. Your system clock, as an example, is a persistent mechanism that Microsoft designed years back, as well as a whole bunch of other features that get your system to do what it's supposed to be doing. Well, these bad actors are hijacking those. They hide in plain sight, and it gives them the ability to come and go as they want. And again, work hard only one time, open up that back door, and now come and go without having to work to get access. And that's where they'll typically go lateral, it's called, across your network to see what's out there. They want to figure out what data they might want to go after. If you're looking at, healthcare data, patient data, that sort of thing, if they want financial data, they're going to start to go lateral and gather all sorts of intelligence to eventually launch some sort of impact, whether it be a ransomware, encryption, or hold the data hostage, which is the new game that they're using to extort money out of the environment or the company. So these persistent mechanisms are now being used in over 90% of those domain-wide attacks to be able to gather that data and then eventually impact it. A little bit of definition about this thing called persistence. And again, the good intent of that is everything your Windows machine does, reboot, there's a clock there, there's a display, there's an interface, all of that, but they're hijacking that. They want to maintain that foothold. They are surviving restarts. They want to basically go in there and change credentials, basically go out there and do what they can and hide under the covers or hide in plain sight. And here's the key, is they're going to hijack that persistence mechanism, and they want to replace or hijack that legitimate code and stay in that environment and be able to gather that intelligence. If we look at how do you prevent, we use something called NIST, and some of you may be familiar with this. It's a nonprofit agency, government agency, National Institute of Standards and Technology. And they set up a framework, and there's different frameworks, but they're all very similar in that the first thing you need to do is identify what you need to protect, what's that data out there, then how do you protect it, how are you going to block at that front door, detect once they break through that front door and now they're inside your environment, so how are you playing offense to detect, and then respond once you have some sort of an incident, and then of course recover with your backup or DR. If you look at who's on the call and take a look at that protect column, you're going to have, of course, your next-gen antivirus, your firewalls, all sorts of different things, but user training, you're going to hear from KnowBe4 later on. Big piece to be able to educate the users. The top two ways that folks are breaking in these days, number one is phishing. So if you have user education, that will help, and then using the remote desktop or RDP to get in. Those are the two main ways that they want to try to brute force in to get into your environment. Once they're in your environment and hiding there under the covers, you now need to play offense. So you go from playing defense at protect to now playing offense and needing human threat ops or threat analysts to be able to look at detect and what are the tools that you need there, respond, and then eventually recover. This is what we would define as that 1%. If you've got unlimited budget, you can spend to build all of these out. You can start to sort through these hundreds plus of different solutions, and it'll drive you nuts to figure out what you need. So how do you figure out who are the right players to be able to properly defect in that environment, which you have here? What we typically see in a lot of the folks that we talk to, which is that 99%, is usually very heavy on that protect or prevent layer. And you're going to see again that user training with folks like KnowBe4, email filtering, firewalls, next-gen antivirus, and then backup and DR, your data replication and restoration over and recover. But what's typically missing, because it takes very expensive and highly skilled individuals, is that detect and respond. And you'll hear a little bit later about the Huntress piece, and that's where we focus. So how do you spend that next dollar to properly get all aspects of NIST covered and put humans in the mix with that detect and respond piece? If you look at the people component and putting context in the mix, you'll notice that that people bar gets thicker to the right. So once you've been compromised and that defense or that protect layer has been circumvented, and that protect layer is needed to block at that front door, but once they get past it and they're inside your environment, again, you've got to play offense to the right of compromise and put more people in the mix. You wouldn't try to do a restoration or recover without a whole lot of people in the mix to figure out how to get that that backup restored. Same thing with that detect and respond. So when you put people in that mix, it typically gets very expensive and difficult to attract those super rare individuals. That is where we focus. We focus with human threat ops, augmented by our technology and our software to be able to identify and remediate for you in your environment and complement those existing protect and prevent layers. We threat hunt. We in general need to play offense so that you can find alerts and find attackers without predefined alerts. Typically, those prevention tools are looking for known goods and known bads. The bad actors know how to circumvent that, look like a known good, get past it, and then stay inside your environment. We also use, which is a really good framework, something called MITRE, which is a nonprofit research organization, and they actually do the anatomy of an attack. And if you look at every attack that's out there, it's going to fall somewhere along this timeline. Typically, it's going to go left to right. So the bad actors want to get that initial access, again, with phishing or RDP, remote desktop, to get in. They're going to execute some sort of a script to get in and stay in. Then they're going to launch and plant this persistence mechanism to open up that back door, that foothold, and come and go as they want to. And this is where it gets pretty ugly, because once they have circumvented that up front, and now they're sitting there with persistence, they can now go to the right. And if you look at things like privilege escalation, lateral movement, discovery, command and control, and then eventually exfiltrate your data, hit you with impact, which is typically encryption, or hold you hostage for the data, or both. And that's where, if you can stop earlier in that cycle. So you want to try to stop at that front door with that initial access execution with the prevention tools, And then you want to stop at persistence where you can with those human threat ops and threat analysts. And that's where we do focus. We focus on breaking that chain once those bad actors have gotten past prevention and before they can move anywhere any further to the right. So if we can break that chain at persistence, which is where we focus. Our three founders came out of the NSA doing this for a living. They were planting open back doors with our foreign adversaries. They would stay there for months to years at a time, never got busted. And then our teams could go in there and gather intelligence. Well, the bad actors now have flipped the equation, opening up those back doors to come and go, and that's where they want to move to the right. So we focus narrow and deep on the persistence mechanism with human threat analysts, augmented by our software. Break the chain at that point, they can no longer get to discovery, payload execution, or anything to the right. So we want to close that back door that's been open. So once you get that back door closed, you can now prevent a lot of things, nasty things from happening. Three founders out of the NSA. We recently secured a $40 million Series B round, about 1 million agents or endpoints deployed. Company is doing really, really well. The unique combination, again, is the human threat ops team, which has been trained by John, one of our founders. Kyle's our main visionary, and Chris is the guy that designed our super clean, super simple, easy to use software. Here's our success. We're actually closer to 1 million endpoints at this point, climbing like crazy every day. A little bit of slightly technical. What we're doing is we put a little agent out there, we capture the data. Heavy lift is done up in our cloud, so there's virtually no impact to those workstations or endpoints. We send that up, and here's the key to the Huntress platform is when and if we deem that something is malicious, first time we're gonna knock on you and your team's door to let you know that you got something going on out there. We're gonna tell you what we found. We'll tell you where we found it. We'll tell you where it needs to be done to remediate it. And then here's the key is that you click a green button and then our system will actually remediate it for you. So we're a low noise environment. Your threat ops team, your security team is only going to hear from us when they need to pay attention. All of our work is shown, all our investigations are shown if they want to go look at it. But the key to us is reverse engineering, only bother you with an incident report when you need to do something. We're also out there doing tons and tons of security research. We've been all over the news. Here's Kyle, our CEO on CNBC with the recent supply chain attack with Kaseya. We've been out there with the exchange breach, all sorts of different things that have hit. And we're typically, early on the scene in Kaseya's case, which is a supply chain, really nasty stuff. We were out there first on the scene to identify it. So again, we focus in that detect and respond. We complement what you have. Price point we hit you with right up front. You can give an idea of where we are based on the number of agents or endpoints you've got. Reasonably priced. This is per month or per year. So pretty reasonably priced. You're getting the threat ops team, the incident reporting, and then the customized reports. We'll follow up. If you'd like to hear more, we can get you started with an easy to deploy trial. We only ask for email address and company name. There's other things in the tool that are there, but this is a view on the dashboard. Real clean, real simple. We only bother you when there's an active incident, but you can see everything that's been resolved. We have some other things that are in the platform that are all included. We're doing some basic port scanning. If you were to get encrypted, there'll be a tripwire. There's a ransomware canary, the old canary in a coal mine. We will let you know that something's been encrypted. If it's too late at that point, you can isolate the host, take it offline to investigate it. We're also doing some managed antivirus. If Windows Defender does the trick for you, we can now manage it through the platform. If you're using another antivirus or endpoint detection, perfectly fine. We coexist very nicely. But if Microsoft, the free Defender, will do the trick, you can now manage it with the platform. We don't charge any extra for anything. It's a one price, one SKU for what the solution is. We'd love to follow up with you with a deeper presentation and a demo. We educate, we don't typically, so we don't sell. Basically, the product sells itself once folks realize what we're doing. We love to go technical. If your technical cyber team wants to run it through its paces and then vet it out, can be done. And we leave you with this. Can your team find and stop an attacker that didn't create an alert in your preventive tool? We're looking for things that are not known bads. That's what the prevention tools are doing. We're looking for behavior that's hiding under the covers. Typically, the answer is no. Usually, they're not skilled to be able to go out there and play offense and identify those attacks.